Hello and welcome to another video from BetfairTradingCommunity.com. I've got a really good one for you today. And if you've ever created a strategy or if you ever want to create a Betfair trading strategy, this is the video you need to watch, because this is the video that's going to give you the checklist you need to see if your strategy is worth doing and if it's ready to go live with, if it's ready for you to put money on. So I'm basically going to go through my set rules, and I'm going to start with a question I got asked this week, which is on the screen here. And what it was this: on any filter that you create and test on here, what percentage of winners or green up in that filter do you see as a viable strategy to follow? Okay, now for me, this question is basically asking, how do I know when a strategy is good enough to bet on it? How do I know when a strategy is good enough to start trading on it? It's not just random luck and X, Y, and Z. How do I know it's actually the moment? And there's a few key things that I do to kind of, it's a 5-point checklist, right, that will show you what the answers are. So let's get on with it. Number one, is it profitable? I mean, really basic, really obvious. I'm sure you're already thinking that. But the first thing you need to think, is it profitable? Okay. Now, I assume that most people that get to this point where they're going, should I put money on it? Hopefully they found something that has been profitable in the testing they've done. So I think at this point, most people will have it as profitable. That's why it's only my first point here. I'm not going to overemphasize it. But the point is, you're obviously not going to want a strategy that is not profitable. You want the answer to be yes. And I've kind of put next to these questions or whatever, the answer as well. Okay, so next one. Number two, what's the ROI? What's the rate of interest per bet, per trade? I want around 3%. Profit per trade on these strategies. That's to me, from the testing I've done, that's a really solid rate. If you can get 3% plus, obviously, you know, I'm not just saying I want 3%, I don't want 6%. Anything 3% and up is brilliant. When it starts to get to things, now I am testing something at the moment that's around 1%, and I'm kind of on the fence, because at the end of the day it's profitable and it gets a lot of selections, but it's too marginal. And I think that unless you don't have anything else that's profitable, anything under 3% it's kind of difficult to go with long term. But if you haven't found anything else profitable, then there's nothing wrong with sticking with that, and also see if you can improve it a bit. You know, that's one of the keys with strategies. Okay, number three, how many results, right? How many results do you want? Now, I want lots. I often say to people, you want to test for 3 to 6 months. Now, you want to get as many results as you can in those months from the strategy. So one thing I say is, once you've created a strategy in the BetfairTradingCommunity.com software, don't just throw it out when it's not doing that well straight away. Try and get a few months data. Don't remove leagues and things like that until you've got a significant amount of data. Now, how many games exactly? It's difficult. Some people want to go all the way up to 1,000. Depending on variance, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, I'm more willing to look at games where it's around, I want a few hundred at least. Let's just put it that way. It's hard to put an exact number on it, because then it's kind of a how long is a piece of string kind of question. It's where you're comfortable, and when you go in with the stakes you're using, how comfortable do you need to be? You know, if I'm putting £100 aside just to trade it, and I'm using £1 stakes, you know, at the end of the day, if I lose £100, it's not the end of my world, right? No one's losing their house because they lost £100, right? No matter how much money you've got. But the point is this, right? If you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. But if you're not, you might want to wait for longer. Wait for more. It's one of those. But I'd say a few hundred is kind of the minimum for me personally. Number four, are there many selections a month? Now, this can be problematic. I've had strategies that I've tested for a year, and they're throwing up like only 4 or 5 selections per month. That's not really viable. Like, I'm not going to make any money out of that long term. So it's one of those where, unless I'm getting around 20 matches average per month, I'd want at least 10 plus. I probably wouldn't ditch anything that was getting 10 plus. But ideally, you want something that's getting 20 at least. And, you know, I mean, let's think about it. It's 30 days in a month. If you can be doing 2 or 3 trades a day, that would be great. If you're getting anywhere around the 80, 90 trades per month on that strategy, that's fantastic. But I definitely want at least 10, because I do believe in quality over quantity. So there's nothing wrong when there is a strategy that's only got 10. But the problem is your ability to actually make a lot of money does decline. And if it's a strategy, it's just a part of a portfolio, it's not the end of the world. But you don't want to be hanging on one strategy that's having one selection every 3 days. It's just not useful to you. Now, you will get times where there aren't many selections. You know, for example, this midweek I'm trading, there's not many midweek games on. Pretty much only France leagues are on at the moment. Until the weekend, it's going to be slow. But that's fine. I'm talking about an average over the month, not an average each day. You know, if you're not getting 20 a day, I'm not going to scrap a strategy just because I don't get any selections one day. You've got to go with it. And again, it's what you feel comfortable with. But this is what I like to do. And number 5, final thing here. Is there minimal variance? Again, I want the answer to be yes. Now, when I talk about variance, some people don't know what variance is. Variance is just a word that's used to explain the highs and lows. So if you're getting a lot of variance, it basically means that your lows are really low. So your losing streaks go on a long time and they're rough and they take big hits. And your winning streaks can, the same thing, they could go crazy as well. I prefer strategies that kind of, I've got to do this the right way, haven't I? That is the right way. Okay, cool. Because I'm kind of mirrored here. I want strategies where the snake graph is going like this, right? I want it going up. I want it making profit. I want it to be going up steadily. Kind of the snake graph you see when something's performing well. What I don't want to see is a snake graph like that and the ups and downs are crazy. Because that is hard to take, okay? And also, it means that at any moment, you could end up having a huge bad run and lose a lot of money. And how easy is it then for you to have faith in that strategy and carry on? We've seen this a bit with Dan's Lay the Draw in the last couple of months, and it's difficult. You know, and I've seen people after one bad day on a strategy that can lose a few points quickly, they start to panic. So if that's going to happen, then really what you want to look at and look for is strategies where, like I say, the variance is minimal. Yeah, you'll have losing days, you'll have bad days, that happens to every strategy, but your bad day is just going to be like this, right? This little blip here. And then your goods will keep bringing that back up. Your bad day is not going to be that, where it just falls off a cliff. That's what variance is. I think that's really important. And I think that if you get all these 5 things in, you're going to be laughing. If all of that criteria is fulfilled, then you have a potentially viable strategy. Now, again, I want to highlight a word that I've used here because this is important, potentially. I'm not even saying once you've done this, you have definitely got a great strategy. What I'm saying is this is the time when I think about putting money on it. I'd start small. I always start small. I never just go in full stake. I never actually go in anywhere near full stakes when I start a strategy. I'll quite often start with £1, £10 stakes, whatever. And obviously the stakes I'm using are a bit higher than most of you guys. So, you know, the equivalent will be just using the £1, £2 stakes and things like that. There's no need for you to go heavy. And then keep seeing, okay, how does it work in reality? Because it's all well and good paper trading, and you should always paper trade, which basically means trading without using money, and test and take the results. But when you go live, you want to see, is this actually working live as well? Am I able to get the odds I need to get at that time? Is it easy for me to get the money on? These are big questions that need answering. But the reality is, I think if you've got all 5 of these, you're well on your way. So is it profitable? What's the rate of interest per trade? How many results have I got? Are there many selections in a month? Is there minimal variance? Those are the questions you should be asking yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. This might be one you want to go back and watch again. Seriously, I think it's so important. Take some notes. The reason I've done this on the screen like this instead of just reading off another screen is I want you guys to be able to see it, be able to take some notes down, be able to pause the video and whatnot. So do that, guys. It's an important part of your learning. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great week. And most importantly, I hope you make some money trading on Betfair this week.